Great. I think we have some questions around mappers. I know recently some of the Helium documentation got updated around rewards for people who are just getting heartbeat rewards right now. So if you're online and you're connected in such a way, you're getting a reward. But I think they changed it recently to say you'll also need to be mapped at some point to start receiving the rewards for mobile. Can someone explain a little bit more about the recent updates and how that might change with getting heartbeat rewards and not being rewarded until you're mapped, or give some clarity there?
At first, it is described in the roadmap. We want to go back to the docs at Helium.com. So we're specifically talking about, we've been talking about stage one, phases within stage one. Mappers come into play in what's called stage two. Yeah, you're right. It is a little bit empty there, but maybe Boris knows a lot more what's going to be on. But just kind of reading from there, it is saying that we're going to have to transition from this very simple, what we call the genesis phase, where you're just simply being rewarded for having radio, to being rewarded for having radio with real verified coverage, and starting to get into some of the real fun parts, at least for me, that we have from LoRaWAN, which is trying to prove that not only is your radio up and running and it's providing service, it's providing service in the location that you are, in addition to that bandwidth check too. So that we have the whole blockchain has a really good idea of what is an effective radio.
So in that case, if we're technically we are in stage two now, I guess maybe at Helium House we might learn a little bit more about the mappers and what might be.
Well, I should correct that a little bit. We're in stage one, phase two.
Okay, stage one, phase two.
So that's why I would try to raise that up. That it's sub clause two within main clause one.
Sure.
This would be stage two, which is the end of phase. Let's see, the last thing will be phase 5. You get to phase 5 of step 1 before we go to stage 2.
What about, I think some time ago, Solana had a pre-order of their Web3 phones. And even at the time back then, I think there were a lot of excitement on Discord saying, oh, maybe Solana and Helium can work on something together, and then Solana Phone Mapper. Now that this is even more imminent, are we seeing this happening maybe sometime next year? Or even let's say if it's not a Solana Web3 phone, is a Cellphone Mapper somewhere on the roadmap already?
Cellphone Mapper is definitely in the works. So I think that the ability to have a lot of mappers out there and paint an accurate coverage picture is a huge priority. A Cellphone Mapper will never be as efficient at mapping as a dedicated mapper, and as such, likely will not be as good an earner when it comes to the rewards attributed to the mappers. But on the flip side of that, like the barrier to entry, because everybody has a cell phone, right, is lower. You don't need to have a dedicated device. We'll definitely have a cellular-based mapping capability down the line.
There is something that Amir has also shown. You've seen a picture of something. He's held it in his hand. I can just describe what it is. I can't necessarily tell you what it is, but it had some lights on it that talked about LoRa, 5G. I think it had BLE and maybe a power. That is going to be shown around at Helium House. And it'll be exciting to talk about what that is and what it does. So definitely go for that.
It may or may not be a mapper.
Would the cellular or cell phone version of a mapper, would that require a specialized SIM card or a specific SIM card if it's not to be able to map that? Or because I know the HIP64 talked about mapping with cell phones for Wi-Fi when that comes out, and I don't think that would require a SIM card. But if a phone became a mapper, would it require a SIM card to do that mapping for cellular coverage?
Yes, it will require a SIM card, either physical or an eSIM.
Okay.
Today, if you hit Google, they're kind of quietly mapping already if you have an Android particularly, right? So when you use your phone, it's quietly sending to a database. And we at Tracking for Less, we pull on that database. So that's how we can track indoors and outdoors. So we use a database Google provides, because as you're walking through a mall or whatever, that information might be cellular triangulation indoors or GPS. So Google just hasn't tokenized it, but they're kind of doing the mapper already for the greater use of everything. So.
Yeah, if you look at the roadmap, I mean, mapping is clearly a part of meeting all the coverage proving goals of the 5G.